Hi, and in this video we're gonna be setting up so every time we hit a game object tagged with the obstacle tag, instead of just printing something out to the console, we actually perform an action, and that action will just be reloading the level once again. Alright, let's jump straight into it, I guess. So I'll head over into my game manager.cs where we're doing the check to see if we collide with anything that has the tag with obstacle. And I'll leave this debug.log here, but now let's add something below this. So I'll just leave a comment. Reload the current scene, and if I can spell, that'll be nice. Reload the current scene. And how are we gonna do this? Well, first things first, we want access to Unity scene management system. So if you remember in the top in these using statements, I'll leave a comment here like scene management, and here we're gonna do using Unity engine dot scene management. And now we have access to all of Unity's scene management methods. Now what we can do is we can do scene manager dot load scene, and here it expects a scene name, and instead of passing in a scene name you can just pass in an integer. Did I forget how to do this? No way I did. Yeah, scene build index. Sorry about that. So there's something called the scene build index, and we're just gonna pass in the scene that we're in, which is just gonna be scene manager dot get active scene dot build index. Now you're probably not understanding any of this, right? So there's scene manager, I'll put it on different lines, dot get active scene dot build index. Now what it will do is it's gonna check every time we collide with something that has the tag obstacle. After printing this out, we're gonna load the scene. And which scene are we gonna load? We're gonna load the current scene build index. We're gonna load the current scene's build index, and there's a little more setup to this than you would think. So if I head back here into Unity, and if I were to go into file, build settings, shift command B for short, and if I were to click add open scenes, now you can see our level 1 scene is here, and right next to it there is a little 0. Now that 0 is its build index. So if I go back to our code, this is basically saying we're gonna get the active scene, and off of the active scene, when we get the scene, we're gonna get this number, so we're gonna get 0. And if I were to hit play, and move it in front, when we collide, you can see we collided, game over, and we've restarted the scene. Alright, that is very cool. And one thing I would like to show, maybe in your game, rather than the instant you collide with something, you want a little like a 1 second delay so they can see the obstacle fall, 1 second delay, and then you load the scene. Well, to do that, it's very simple. In the game manager, I'll create a serialized field, private float delay, and I'll set it equal to 1.5 f by default. You can tweak it in the inspector. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this load scene, delete it, and I'll create a new function called load. I'll just call it reload scene, and I'll create this function. So private void reload scene, and I'll paste all of that. Oh, and I'll just rewrite that code. So scene manager dot scene manager dot get active scene dot build. Oh wait, sorry. build index. And this reload scene, instead of just calling it, what I'm gonna do, I'll delete this and I'll do an invoke. What is an invoke? Well, it's basically just gonna call this whatever function you give in here. It's basically just gonna call that function after a certain amount of time. So it's giving me an error because it takes in two parameters, a method name and the time. So it takes a string for the method name, so you have to create a string and type in reload scene. And if you remember, whatever is inside a string, you can misspell it and you'll get no errors in the code, so you will not know that you've misspelled it. So I can type reload sc, it'll not give me any errors in the code, but it will throw an error when I run the game. So instead, and a more efficient way to do this is just type name of and then parenthesis reload scene. Now what does this do? Well, this just takes the name of this function, which is reload scene, and turns it into a string. It's very easy, and this is a much more efficient way to use. Instead of using string references for function names, it's much easier to just use the name of that function. And for the time, we've created a serialized field, so I'll just pass in delay right there. And let me just, after we successfully load, I'll just do a debug log successfully loaded. And I think my spelling is very bad today. Okay, no, it's not. Alright, let's go back here into Unity. And if I were to hit play, and hit W, we collide with it, we wait for some time, and then we load. That's very nice. And yeah, I think that's all I had in plan for this video, and I'll see you in the next one where we just might set up camera controls. Alright, see you there.